And I'm Samantha Scherr with Movement Mortgage. I'm a loan officer. I've been doing it. I've been in lending since 2001. And I'm within the top 5% of our company here at Movement Mortgage. We're what's called a direct lender. So we're not brokers. We actually do most of our lending with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and we fund the loan in Movement's name, and we actually service those loans too. Anyway, I own my own house. I just sold our first house, and we bought our second house now. So that was an interesting experience. A lot of my clients do it, but I had never done it myself. So just went through that. So I own our own house that we live here, and obviously love my husband and my kids and Belgian waffles. And my vision for the world is positivity and gratitude. Shannon?
Yeah, so my name's Shannon Shue. I'm a real estate agent, and I also invest in real estate. I'm one of those rare birds that actually continues to work very hard on the real estate sale and purchase side. And then I take a lot of, my success, then I funnel it back into more real estate. I'm in the top 1% of KW agents across the country. I own 9 units currently, and I have a 10th unit coming online. I have an ADU that I'm building at the back of my house. It's just taken me a really long time to get this project done because I've been a little busy with work. I'm obsessed with Vietnamese spring rolls, and my vision for the world is connection and vulnerability. I really think that's like a great way for all of us to really get to know one another better. All right, so our agenda for today. Sam, you want to do it?
Absolutely. Actually, you and I didn't really talk about it, but we'll do this. We'll do a small economic update, what's going on. Why do we want to buy? Why are everybody who's on the phone right now is considering, right now we rent. A lot of realtors who I know rent, but they don't actually own yet. And so we have someone on the call with us today. So we'll talk about why are we actually buying? Then we're going to compare the Big Bear house versus a local duplex. And then we'll talk about what happens next.
All right. So we have a small group, so this will be nice and intimate. We would love to hear your name, what you do for work, and what you would like to learn today. We may cover it, we may not. We'll actually have quite a bit of extra time at the end. So let's start with, Moby, you have some audio issues. So you can say skip in the chat if you end up not wanting to. We'll start with Sherelle, and feel free to turn your cameras on so we can see your lovely faces.
Hello, my name is Sherelle. I am a real estate agent. I'm also still working full-time, my 9-to-5 job. So my plan is to transition into real estate 100%. And what I would like to learn today is really, I don't really know much about investment. So I'm just like one of the realtors Samantha just mentioned. I'm in real estate, but I do not own. I am currently renting, and I would like to learn how to not be a renter.
Awesome. Okay, Neil, are you unmutable, and does your audio work? Uh-oh, you're unmuted, but
it doesn't look like the audio.
Oh.
But this Neil. Can you
Neil. Oh.
Yeah, you muted, Neil. Oh, you're unmuted.
Can you hear it?
Now I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking at the market doing on trying to figure out better option to buy a duplex. Buy something I can afford both of them, but if I buy something that may cost a little more and get a little more income, and I may consider that too. That's it.
All right, fantastic. Glad you're here, Neil. Is it Lashaya? Hi, you're muted.
You're the first person that's ever pronounced my name correctly.
I just took a good stab at it.
Yes, I'm Lashaya. I am a therapist, and I currently own 3 units. However, I want to learn how to invest to own something. My goal is to own a couple of apartment buildings, so that's why I'm here today.
All right. Thanks, Lashaya. Well, great to hear from you. And then Moby, you said you had audio issues. You want to chime in? I'm gonna pass. Okay, we'll take that as a pass. But you can always. Oh, okay. Thanks, Moby. Thank you. All right. More about pricing and investments. Okay, you got it. On to the next slide, Samantha.
Yeah. So, are you going to change the slide for me?
Oh, does it have to look changed on your side? I changed it over here.
I don't know what's going on.
What do you see?
Anyway, just a bit of an economic update before we really get into everything. So here we are a year into COVID. About a year ago this time, rates were falling dramatically. My phone couldn't stop ringing. It was really crazy. Everybody didn't really know what was going to happen, right? And Shannon and I would constantly discuss, so what do you think is really going to happen with real estate, right? Everybody thought it was going to be a halt on real estate until we figured out COVID and vaccinations and all of that. And actually the opposite happened, right? Rates went down. It spurred a ton of homeowners to want to refinance, as well as those people who were lucky enough to have great incomes through COVID be able to get pre-approved with really low interest rates to buy a house. So as you all have heard, I'm sure if you're not already knowing this, the inventory is so low, especially here in Los Angeles, and there are so many buyers. So your basic supply and demand, what happens, right? Supply is low, demand is high, prices increase. And that's what we've seen over the last year. And so what this all means for Shannon and I is that we just really like to educate everybody on what to expect if you're thinking about buying, when's a good time, why should we buy, and what should you buy? So that's basically what we're going to do. Shannon, I still can't see your screen today.
Oh, weird. Do you see? Okay, I'm turning it off.
Do you want me to do it?
Maybe we should have you do it. I don't know why.
Okay. Well then. I don't know why you're having a problem, but let's see.
Yeah.
Well, now it works. Why do people buy homes? You have it now.
Okay. Well, all right. So let's keep rolling. I guess it's working.
Okay. We'll give it a try. So why do people buy, right? It's part of your retirement plan. A lot of millennials and those of us zennials, or what do we call it, Gen Xers that Shannon and I are, we don't have a retirement plan from Social Security. So they'll probably run out by the time we're ready to retire. So what are people doing? They are purchasing property and knowing that as it increases in value and you start to gain a lot more equity over time, you hold on to these properties, that's going to be a great investment for your future wealth. You also have the opportunity for passive income. So if you owned property and rented it out, or if you lived in a duplex like we're going to discuss today and rent out the other side, you get this great passive income. Obviously, the appreciation of it all, the tax benefits. If you're a W-2 employee right now and your CPA has told you year over year, hey, you really need some write-offs, this is a great reason, a great way to get write-offs and try to keep some of the money that you've made. And then finally, just have that stable housing payment. So right now, people are leaving LA, and I think rents might be going down, but it depends, I guess, on the area that you're looking in. But if you buy, your payment will always stay the same for the 30 years, and you always have the opportunity to refinance if you qualify and take advantage of an even lower payment, which is not normally something you have with rent, right? Year over year, those landlords are going to increase your rent. And right now, landlords are so squeezed because they've had a lot of tenants who haven't been paying. So it's going to be interesting to see in the next year to 18 months what's going to happen with some of those buildings. If the landlords are going to increase rent, but are they going to find a tenant to occupy that space, or are they going to, those landlords going to need to sell? So that's something we actually discussed in our last class. I think Neil was a part of. Just looking into what's sort of next in the horizon. Shannon and I both were talking about how landlords, because they're being squeezed, might start putting some more of their properties on the market, and you might be seeing more inventory in the multifamily properties or commercial properties in the future. So when is a good time to buy? Shannon, are we experiencing a shift in the market right now, you think?
If the shift is up, yes, because the shift is up.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then everybody asks, when's it going to shift down?
Right. I want to buy at the bottom. Shannon, tell me when you hit the bottom and then I'll buy.
Right. And so the thing is, we can't really time it. It's like timing a stock. We have a hunch that maybe we're in a bear market or maybe we're in a bull market. But then, you know, all the people on CNBC and all the people in the Wall Street Journal, they're making general predictions based on behavior, based on the economy. So I look at all that stuff. I consume a lot of news around real estate, and I can't time the bottom, you know, and I want to find the same bottom everybody else is looking for. So I always say, you're ready to buy when you have the money. And then it's a matter of getting a property. I don't think that we are going to find the same bottom we found in 2008 and 2009, because those loans were terrible loans.
Right.
We've given out legitimate loans since then, and we have new policies in place so that you can't just get a loan because you can fog a mirror.
Right.
So with that said, I don't know when the bottom is, but I am looking currently for a property to buy because I am cash heavy and I want to buy something. And I've offered on a few things and haven't gotten them. I just feel like I'm doing both of patience and vigilance. Like I'm vigilantly looking for it and patient at the same time.
Well said, Shannon. Let's see if your slide shifts.
Oh, is it?
There we go. So
Okay.
there's different types of properties to buy. A house, a single family house, a condo, right? Or multi-units. And a lot of people are looking right now, you know, millennials especially have moved home, right? They're saving money during COVID. There was no reason to live in their exorbitantly expensive apartment. So they moved home to be with family, and now they're looking to get out because they've just had it too much, probably. And so what are they buying? I think they're probably going to be looking more so into multiple unit properties because they can go ahead and live in one unit and rent the others out and have those tenants help them pay their mortgage. So in residential lending, we go up to 4 units. Shannon, this is the fun part. Let's talk about this really pretty place in Big Bear I want to buy.
Yeah, so what I'm doing is I'm comparing a Big Bear home. This is nearly ski in, ski out, which means that you have to cross 2 streets and then the mountain is right there. You would have, you know, you can just actually kind of hook onto the mountain with your skis on if you wanted to walk to the ski slope. Or you have you actually have to drive all the way around to get into Bear Mountain. But it's not that far. It's like a 15 minute drive. So this place is pretty big. It is on Ridgecrest Drive. And because it's ski in, ski out.
Shannon, you went to the next slide somehow.
Oh, sorry. My mouse is very sensitive.
Be nice to your mouse.
I'm not going to touch the mouse. The asking price is $799, and it's worth probably about $800,000 today. I had some clients just close in Big Bear, and they got bid out multiple times. They were 20% down for a second home. So this will probably sell for more. It'll probably sell for about $850, and it probably won't appraise because of how quickly things, there aren't enough appraisals under the belt of this winter to then mix that up with what happened in the fall to say like all these wild numbers that they're achieving, 50, 60, 80,000 above asking when they're listing it at about what it's worth. It's been a frenzy. But with that said, this particular home, it's renovated. The kitchens and the bathrooms, I have one shot of the interior. You can see how lovely it looks inside. It's completely renovated. It's definitely Airbnb ready. I do believe it is staged. So, you know, you would just put in similar things into this home. The potential rent, if you rented the whole home, the 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,848 square foot house, it does have a turn-in driveway where you can come in one side and then come out the other. It's a big lot. It's about $4,200. That would be for a year-round rental, maybe somebody that lives up there, or they might have a few roommates. That's pretty good rent. If you were to Airbnb rent it at $400 a night, I'm down here if you're wondering where I am, and you had 50% vacancy, because what I'm accounting for is you probably could rent a lot of it during the ski season as long as it's a good ski year. But you have the shoulder seasons, which are spring and fall, so there's no snow on the ground, or there's not enough to ski on, and you're turning into summer, or summer's just ended. Those are kind of shoulder months where you don't have as many people up there. They're gonna, in the summer, they'll stick a boat in the lake. So maybe you have some folks and they'll use that turnabout driveway so that they don't have to turn around with a boat. But yeah, you can see that I'm gonna say it's $5,600 a month. That includes the slow months. Pretty good income, because we're gonna look at the numbers for a 10%, 15 or 20% down loans, and it will cash flow at that with only 50% vacancy. The upsides is that you can also use it. And that's what a lot of people here want. They're like, I need some Airbnb money, but then I want to use it myself. And then the other upside is this is completely renovated. It is a very, very nice home. The downside is it's extremely competitive for the second home market. Many of the people that will compete for this home will be people from Los Angeles, Santa Barbara, Ventura, San Diego, Orange County, because they also want a second home and they have the money. They haven't traveled anywhere. The other downside is I'm quite sure it won't appraise. So someone's going to have to make up that cash difference, and likely the seller's going to say like, no, if it's not you, it'll be somebody else. I got multiple offers. So,
and the appraisals right now, if anybody's buying in Big Bear, they're running at least 3.5 weeks to even get to the property. There are very few appraisers in that area, and you don't want to get anybody who's not local. So just put that in the back of your mind if you are thinking of buying in one of these, smaller out of town areas. Your escrow needs to be longer. And I 100% agree with you, Shannon, on the appraisals. I just had one recently that took 3.5 weeks to appraise. We ended up, actually the client ended up going to Wells Fargo and they did it without an appraisal. It was crazy, but she knew it wouldn't appraise and she was really worried about what it was going to appraise at, and she never ended up even having the appraisal done. So I think you kind of have to buy it knowing that you'll be using it, and eventually it will get to that value, but you're getting so much out of it. That's really great rent.
Yeah. And just to kind of speak about the long term, I'm a little concerned that so many people are doing this, that actually they have a reverse rent problem in Big Bear. And that is people that reside there and actually service the ski resorts, the restaurants, the gas station, like everything the tourism industry needs, from the dishwashers to the janitors to the ski lifties, right? They don't have anywhere to live because everyone's turning over their home for a short-term rental or their apartment or their condo, because they're like, well, the money's so much better. But now you have an inventory issue on the rental side, which means very low year-round rentals or seasonal rentals for people that need housing, and too many competing markets for your dollar to go spend a weekend in Big Bear. So with all these people here doing that, I actually think in the next year, we're going to see Airbnb prices come down because of the competition. And we're going to see a lot of people without a place to stay when they have a job. Mm. Okay. Whether you can still make money or not, I think there's still money to be made. I just think it's less with short-term rental. All right, so I'm going to compare this to a Jefferson Park duplex. This duplex is on a great, good little street. It's kind of mid-sized street in Jefferson Park, very close to the Expo line, which connects Santa Monica to downtown LA through public transportation. The asking price is $815,000. It's overpriced right now. It's been on the market for about 140 or 145 days. I kind of eyed it because the reason I eyed it was because the owner occupies both the front and the back unit, which means that when they leave, you have a fully vacant duplex, which is great because in today's market, I don't want to deal with tenants. I don't want to deal with getting these people out, especially during COVID, when you can claim that you're having an economic hardship because of COVID, and then the city will not touch you, and neither can the landlord. I think it would likely sell for closer to 775 fully vacant. Maybe I would love it if I could get it for 750. It might be too much of a too low for the sellers. Currently they collect no rent because the owner is occupying both sides. But if they were to collect rent, the potential rents would be $2,300 for the front house and $2,200 for the back. I think the front is a little bit bigger. The photos are terrible, and I haven't had a chance to reach out to the agent. But the front does look a little bit bigger from an aerial shot on Google. Then the renting, if you're starting out, and I think I'm past this place in my life, but I started here for sure, is I would want to buy this, rent the back house, rent the front house, live in the front house and rent my second bedroom to a friend. So then I could be pulling in $2,200 plus the $800 in the back, about $3,000, right? So then that makes my rent, or quote rent, it's my mortgage, much lower. And then I can save more money for my next purchase, which is exactly what I did when I started as an investor. Now I think I would like to just buy it, maybe not live in it. So yes, it's close to the metro. I think the price is negotiable. These are the upsides. And I think it's a great place to start investing because it's already in decent shape. Is it as wonderful and as beautiful as that Big Bear? No, not exactly. But I'm looking at this kitchen, I'm like, that's a livable kitchen. I would live in that kitchen. I think that's just fine. And the downsides, it does need a little bit of cosmetic work. You can see like from the outside, it's not pizzazzy at all. It's very simple LA rental chic. Simple, emphasis on simple. Yeah, so those are the two I'm comparing. And then Sam's gonna go over some numbers on how to finance that.
Yeah. Well, I think it's good to look at the numbers here so you can see there's several options in between all of these numbers, but just kind of giving you the least amount down, 3.5% is utilizing, this is for the single family house. So if you could work from home right now indefinitely, then what's nice about COVID is that now underwriters understand the whole work from home. So if your office is technically in Century City, but you're allowed to work from home forever, then you could call that Big Bear house owner occupied, and you would be able to use an FHA loan where you put just 3.5% down. So for that $800,000 beautiful renovated house, you really only need $28,000 for your down, about roughly $48,000 total with all your closing costs, your prepaid property taxes and things like that. Now, all of that money using that FHA government program could be a gift. So if you have a wonderful family who wants to give you $48,000, you could go ahead and go buy this place. The payment all in would be about $5,015 a month using that low down program. But Shannon said that rents, if you Airbnb'd it, would be $5,600. So look at that. You could literally cover your mortgage if you went ahead and rented it out, Airbnb'd it, and maybe the other part of the time you live with somebody else. Who knows? Then you also have the option of doing 15% down. Sometimes people think if you talk on the street and you talk to your family and friends, they'll say, oh no, you have to have 20% down to buy a house. And what I would love for you to take away today is that you don't. And don't be scared by having to save enough money to have that full 20% down, because as you can see here, there's 3.5% down as a minimum. There's also some down payment assistance programs we can talk about on our next call where it's only about 1% of the purchase price. And then up, right? If you want to put 20% down, go ahead. But that's what it used to be years and years ago. You only had one option, which was to put 20% down or more. If you did have 20% down, you can see that the payment's only $38.55 a month. So it's definitely a lot easier payment, but it's a little tougher to come up with $184,000. Shannon and I are always talking about this where clients are saying, well, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait till I have more money. I'm going to wait till I have more money, right? And then I'll buy. Give me 2 years, Shannon. Which is fine. That's one way of doing it. But it's also hard because as you're saving, the house prices continue to increase, and maybe your income is not increasing at the same rate that those houses are appreciating. So you're going to constantly be just in the hamster wheel of having to get more down payment, having to save more, and then it's almost better to look at these other options with less down And you could always refinance and take out the mortgage insurance. But sometimes it's okay to just pay a little bit of mortgage insurance so that you could buy the house today versus having to wait and constantly be on that hamster wheel.
Yep.
So in comparison, you could see, and I don't know if you remember, but the payments are pretty darn close because these places are about the same in price. The 2 units are going to be a little bit more expensive than a single family home. And that's just because 2 units are a little riskier for a lender, because we think, oh, what if you have vacancy and you can't make that whole payment yourself? So there's a little bit of a cost associated with it, getting a 2-unit property versus a single family. But Shannon, remind me, you could rent out the front. You could do $3,000 a month is like if you rented out a bedroom and rented out one of the units?
Yeah. And if you rented out all of it front and back, it would be $4,500. But I think it's good for the option to start investing to put yourself in it.
Yes, agreed. So if you did that and you did just the 3.5% down, right, which is roughly $49,000 for the whole out-of-pocket expense, you're looking at $3,000 minus that 50 or $5,100 minus $3,000. So your rent, your out-of-pocket expense is only $2,100 a month to own those 2 units. In LA, you wouldn't have to worry about, your job if you have to go into work, or eventually you have to go into work one day. And this area is increasing in appreciation so much. I think Big Bear, what do you think, Shannon? I think Big Bear's kind of hit we're at a real all-time peak of Big Bear. I've never seen a house for 800,000 there.
I don't think Big Bear has too much more room to go up. Even this next winter, because they say the winter season in Big Bear is the most attractive time to buy, because people will go up ski, say, you know what, I've always wanted to have a cabin up here. I'm going to start to talk to a real estate person while we're up here for the weekend. And then they scoop up a realtor, and then within 2 months, that real estate agent's shown them like as much as possible. They go up a few more times to ski, go up and see a few more places. The weekends there are bananas. That's what I've been told by a handful of the agents that I've referred my clients to. I think that there is no more room to go up.
Yeah, and this does. So right now, those of you who are on the call who are renting, I bet you're paying about $2,000 a month. Or if you were able to get 15% down, right, and your 3,000 or 4,300 minus 3,000, your rent would only be, your payment would only be about 1,300 if you were able to house hack, rent out that one bedroom in your one place, maybe to a friend, and then rent out the back unit. So, I mean, this is why Shannon and I love teaching this class, because when you really look at this, you can't go wrong either way, right? But it's interesting and it's exciting to think about buying a duplex or a multi-unit property.
Right, for sure. And for some of you guys who already have properties and you're like, yeah, I'm not going to live in that. I'm too old for that, Shannon, or I don't want to live there. I've heard that before. I get it. So at 15% down, you are cash flowing $200 a month, right? That's not a lot, but it's hard to find a cash flowing place in Los Angeles that's vacant and ready to go. If it's vacant, it's like been beat up really hard by the tenants. This is owner occupied front and back. So at least they didn't beat it up too hard.
And the appreciation, I think, that you're buying in Jefferson Park, is a real highlight on this one.
Yeah, I agree. And with 20% down, obviously, then it really cash flows quite nicely for Los Angeles. So next. Oh, so this is just a quick side-by-side comparison, and I realized my math is wrong here. It's $4,500 a month. But either way, the duplex side-by-side comparison to the Big Bear place side-by-side comparison, and you can see sort of really what you're going to be making, just so you can have that comparison. For me, it helps to round out. Do you guys have any questions about those 2 properties? Because Sam's going to go into a little bit more about financing. I'm willing to take some questions now. We're going to do questions at the end too, which is probably in 7 minutes. Okay, keep rolling.
Keep going.
I was just wondering, how long would you have to live in that duplex?
How long would I have to, or would I want to live in it, Neil, to make it work? Would I have to, or would I want to live in it, Neil, to make it work?
Well, no, if you're going to get like an FHA loan, is there a set time period you have to live in it?
You're supposed to be in it for 2 years.
2 years.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Oh, I realized I duplicated this slide. Okay, so you'll see it in another minute in a different version. But so what do you do? So for those of you who've never purchased property before or need a refresher because you haven't bought for a long time, the first thing you need to do is talk to a lender like me or your lender of choice. And then they'll tell you just over the phone, we could figure out what could you qualify for and if you're on the right track. Then we would have you fill out an application and get you a pre-approval letter. And that letter is what you would use with your realtor like Shannon to then go see properties. Because right now with COVID, no seller is opening up their door for an open house. The only way to see a property if you're going to be financed is to show that you have been pre-approved. I think it's actually a really good practice, and I hope that it kind of continues even after COVID, at least for me. It really helps me. And I think it helps the realtors knowing who they're working with is actually, you know, a real qualified person, even rather than just a looky-loo. So make sure that you're not looking at properties first and going out of order, because you're not going to really be able to go and see anything without that letter. Here's some affordability. So just like, what could I qualify for? I have no idea. And this is not something that any of us learned in high school or college. So basically the maximum mortgage payment, assuming you have no debt at all, is 50% of your gross income, which seems like a lot, right? Because then you have to pay taxes too. So you don't usually bring in even that much. But from a mortgage point of view, this is how we look at it. Let's say you are paid $60,000 a year on salary. That means divided by 12, that means you're being paid $5,000 a month. So 50% of 5,000 is 2,500. So what that means is you could go buy a house with about 5% down, maybe a condo or something. And your total payment would be about $2,500 a month. So that would mean if you had no other debt at all, you could likely get approved for this amount. If you make 120 a year and that's 10,000 a month, then you could be pre-approved up to a payment of 5,000, right? So that would be sort of those properties that we just saw. So what do first-time homebuyers do? They usually get 3% down. You can do a conventional loan, which is more of like the standard vanilla loan program. If you haven't owned anything in the last 3 years, you're considered a first-time homebuyer again. So you could use that very low down conventional program with 3% down. Otherwise, you could just do 5% down. You could also use one of those down payment assistance programs. And you could always use a gift from family. So long as your loan size is under $822,000, the rest of that money could be from a gift. I just had a client whose fiance is from Taiwan. And so she didn't have US citizenship or credit or anything here, but the husband works here and everything. So he used his financials to qualify for the loan, and they used all of her money from her family as a down payment. They bought a $4 million house, and the fiance did the entire down. So it doesn't matter where the down comes from or how much of it is your money or theirs. 100% of it can be a gift. So just a little update on what's happening with lending. Interest rates are rising a little bit. About a month or 2 months ago, they were under 3%. You may have heard online or on the radio that they're 2.2 or something like that. Well, they've gone up a little bit. I don't really think they were ever at 2.2. That was to buy that rate down. But I'm seeing that maybe over the last month or two, the rates have increased about 0.5%. And it's because of the inflation fears. But even at 3.25%, the rate is still low. That's really, really cheap money, you guys. It's almost free. So you might as well take advantage of getting a loan now, but a very low interest rate. Buying that $800,000 place for just a very small amount of money out of your pocket. If you are salaried, hourly, or self-employed, and 2020 may have been not such a great year for you, we're going to need to have a little bit longer conversation about how 2021 looks and how the underwriter is going to look at your income. So it's become a little tricky during 2020, and now that we've passed 2020 with 2020 just in the back seat of your qualifying, because typically underwriters are going to look at a 2-year average to qualify for a mortgage. And if your most recent year was a declining income, had less income than the year previous, they're going to use that, not 2019. So we can talk about it further even at the end of the call if you guys have questions about that specifically. This was a copy slide, Shannon. I didn't realize I already had that in there. So that is all that we had today. At the end of our calls, we always like to go around the room and again, give us your name, even though now it's all on Zoom, so we have your name here anyway. But name one thing that you learned, and that kind of helps solidify for everyone on the call something they can walk away with. So let's start with Deanna. I know you came late, but I hope you learned something.
I did. Thank you. Hi. That after 3 years, you're considered a new home buyer again. Did not know that.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
All right, Sherelle.
I also did not know that after 3 years, you become a new home buyer again, because I just don't hear that. I hear the total opposite. Like once you've purchased the home, you can't use FHA again. So that was good to know. But I also did not know that the entrance rates were 3.25%.
What did you think they were?
My sister's actually been looking into buying, and she's been telling me that it's 2%. And before I moved from Kentucky, she was like, you need to get a house, you need to get a house. But I was just not interested in getting a house. And now she's like, Sherelle, you need to hurry up and get a house because now entrance rates are super low. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll look into it.
Yeah, and they are so low. I mean, when somebody who's like a layman, right, who is not in our business, they say 2% because they saw the 2 at the beginning. But even over the last year, I didn't see anything at 2.0. It was always like 2.6, 2.7. A lot of clients have got 2.99, 2.8. So that's when you're really getting close to 3%, right? And even 3.25 is fantastic. Extra interest, low interest, right? When I first started in the business in 2001, rates were like in the 7s. And we thought that was great.
Wow.
Wow, 7s.
It's been a while. Okay, so Neil.
Yeah, my first interest was like 7.25%, and I thought that was amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I learned about the 2-year residency period and the 3-year becoming a new home buyer. I didn't know about either.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Yeah, there are some good programs for first-time home buyers. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to use the first-time home buyer program because it's not for everyone. But if it makes sense, I would always like to put someone in one of those programs. Moby, are you able to text us what you learned or chat with us? Okay, maybe she's unable to do so at the moment. Oh yes, learned a lot about different options, which I didn't know, and most places don't tell those points. So great. If you have anything else that you want to share, any questions, feel free to put it in the chat.
How about Lashia? Did
And
Lashia?
Lashia, yeah. Lashia, are you still on?
Lashia?
I'm still here.
Ah,
It's Lashia.
Oh, sorry.
What I learned pretty much I kind of knew this information already, but my question is, I just wanted to clarify, when you say that you're considered a first-time home buyer again, does that mean that you have to have sold your property and not have still acquired it or have it, still own it to be considered for those after those 3 years?
Exactly. So you had to have sold in, let's say, 2018 to be able to consider.
Yeah, I wanted to clarify that.
But if you own now and you want to buy another house, don't let it deter you because you already own, right? That's a good thing. You have an investment going. So there are lots of, FHA doesn't require you to be a first-time home buyer. If you own a house in another state with, and now you want to buy a new one here because this is where you live and work, you could use FHA. You do not have to be a first-time home buyer. And if you do already have a house within the same state within a 100-mile radius, and you wanted to go with something like a low down program, you could just put 5% down. It's not like a huge difference between 3.5% and 5% down.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it's not like so terrible. So this is when we also will take questions. So if you guys we have a small group today, so ask away. Otherwise, Shannon and I will head on our day.